Okay, so earlier I was watching a few videos. So I was watching a bunch of shit today. And earlier I heard somebody mention something about the simulation. And it had me thinking about how everyone thinks that, we're in a simulation and it's like the Matrix and whatever. Now, the movie The Matrix kind of has us all fooled because it's the idea is somewhat accurate, but the actual thing they showed obviously is not. So, in my personal opinion, I believe that this is a made up construct from a higher dimension down to a lower dimension. So I have this thing called Theory Series, and if you guys watched Theory Series episode 9, I made a little mini documentary about that one. But in that Theory Series I explained that E8 is the Matrix, and E8 is this eighth dimensional machine thing that basically holds dimensions or holds realities. So what I think it is it holds realities, it holds dimensions, and our dimension is inside of this E8 machine thing that is creating this reality. Now, I think we misunderstand because we're so. I mean, I give us props because we're primitive, we're monkeys, we're bacteria growing on a rock, and I give us so much fucking props that we even have this much understanding at all, right? That we understand anything is mind blowing. But the simulation that's happening is a higher dimensional simulation and it's just being projected into this realm. So, like I said, Theory Series episode 9, if you guys really wanted more background information, the basics of this conversation is kind of in that. But, so, I explained that the fourth dimension, because like I said, more is in that video. But the fourth dimension is a quasi crystal of the fifth dimension, and the third dimension is a quasi crystal of the fourth dimension, meaning that the third dimension is just a shadow, just like the shadow behind me. Perfect. Shadow behind me. That's the two-dimensional version of me, right? That is a two-dimensional shadow, and that is me because you can see the mouth of my shadow moving as well as my mouth of my third dimensional being is moving. Now, that's kind of reality. That's what this Matrix world is. E8 is kind of projecting reality. It's just like there's a shadow on the wall, there's a fourth dimensional version of this all that we can't see, that in a sense we are the shadow of, and so forth and so on. Now, it's the reason why shadows exist. I mean, it's the reason why all this exists in the first place. And, why does all. It's all just trying to recreate itself. So, this gets to the main reason why I wanted to make this video. So, there's a shadow there. Just like there's other dimensions that the third dimension is a shadow of, and there's an actual physical shadow that you can see. Um, Basically, life is a fractal, and that's kind of what all of that is. All of that is just life fractaling out constantly in every single way possible. So, life is going to fractal out in everything. It's like an echo. So, if the giant universe, the giant galaxy that we're in has a giant spiral, that's why everything is spiraling, right? You see the Fibonacci sequence in so many things, from the way certain flowers are designed, to the way sunflower seeds grow on a sunflower, all of that, even to the way your toilet flushes. Your toilet flushes and it goes in a Fibonacci sequence spiral, right? It's all because the main galaxy that we are in is going in a giant spiral. So we are kind of fractaling that action with our actions, right? Now, the matrix that we're in, right, is the higher dimensional version of a computer, because that's kind of where the original reason why I wanted to get this video out is that was the original idea, but I needed to explain all of the other shit so you guys can understand. It's all connected. All of it is the fractal of life. It is all just the fractal. Kalundi, I forget his name, the black dude that, the 20-30 grams of mushrooms guy, right? I heard him talk about Bitcoin yesterday, and I heard him talk about how, Bitcoin was like a higher dimensional currency downloaded into this third dimensional reality for us, right? And right now, I literally have been trying to focus, right? For the past 2 hours, I've been thinking and contemplating on how to get my Bitcoin thing moving along, getting my cryptocurrency shit moving along a little faster, because I agree with him 100% that it all clicked, and it made me realize, holy fucking shit, I should have got into cryptocurrency when I first heard about it, because it is the higher dimensional shit blasting into this third dimensional world. We have third dimensional money that we call gold, silver, you got paper money and all this other shit, right? But then you got higher dimensional currency, which is cryptocurrency, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and all these others, right? And thousands of others, right? Some of them aren't going to be as solidified as others, like Bitcoin and Ethereum are definitely here to stay, while some of these other cryptocurrencies might be gone in a year or two, right? But regardless, I think it's all just the fractal thing. It's that we're getting closer and closer to what actually is, but to get closer to what actually is, we're going to have to try to get rid of what was before. So cryptocurrency is coming out, and therefore eventually going to have to try to get rid of what was before. Computers came out, right, and computers keep getting better and better as time goes along. And it's all this fractal of life, because what are computers? What is technology? What is the internet? What are these things? These are our lower dimensional version of what's actually going on in the higher dimensions. It's just the fractal thing. That E8, basically, humans had no idea, but by creating a computer, you created a miniature version of E8. You created a miniature version of a universe, of a quantum computer. So it's hard to explain, but I think that the whole universe is just one giant quantum computer thing, right? But it's that we don't understand computers. So we think computers are not organic, or we think computers are technology, or we think technology is separate from organic material, or we think that our brain is different than a hard drive because the hard drive is made out of metal and our brain is made out of mush, right? It's the main difference between the technology today and the technology of the future is that there's going to be quantum computers. And right now there's a quantum computer, but it's not really that useful right now. But quantum computers are completely like magical technology, right? Because they're talking about they might be able to ask it questions. Like, what the fuck do you mean, ask it questions? Like, you gonna ask it about the universe, God, dimensions, life, creation? Will it know? Because what is it connected to? Like, if we have the internet, is there a such thing as the quantum net? And like, and that's for a whole nother video, whatever. But I guess what I really was trying to explain is that this is a fractal thing that is happening. And it's always happening because it is the happening. I don't know how to explain it. But life is this thing that is constantly in a fractal. And consciousness is just exploring this fractal universe, right? And consciousness is what humans mistake as God, but really it's just the consciousness that is exploring its own creation, right? It's the God that is exploring the own creation. It is the God that puts the virtual reality headset on and forgets that it ever put a headset on in the first place, and then constantly redoing that. Now, I don't mean to break anyone's imagination, or I don't mean to break anyone's whatever, but like, I generally do not think it's a simulation like us humans are used to. The simple version, like we think of a simulation and we think of somebody putting on a virtual reality headset and being like, imagine if you could put on a virtual reality headset and a virtual reality like suit with gloves on or whatever, and you could feel in that world, and imagine you could taste in that world and smell in that world with the headset on and everything. Imagine then you'll forget you have the headset on, and then whatever. We like to play around with our imagination like this because it's fun, and I'm gonna tell you that the imagination is so much more fun than the truth. The truth of what's going on is still very fucking crazy and still very extreme, right? There is this insane simulation going on from a higher dimension, and we're in the third dimension, and there's other dimensions to this reality, and those higher dimensions are what we possibly mistake as heaven or death, or death is just probably the transition from one door to the next door, right? And walking through rooms, right? And then it's just there's this giant thing that's going on that we cannot ever, I guess, right now understand. But I mean, I'm coming to the understanding that there are a lot more people that understand this shit than we realize. Listening to bro, I have no idea his name, to the point where I am about to try to pull up a video or something to whatever. I think his name is Kulundi. But if I'm getting his name wrong, y'all know who I'm talking about. Kulundi, 20 dried gram mushroom guy, right? Listening to him yesterday really made me think that no, a lot of people know this, or not a lot of people. People who have pushed the fucking boundaries, right? 20, 30 grams of mushrooms, of course he knows the fucking truth. Of course he's touched it, right? But if you took 20, 30 grams of mushrooms, you'd touch it too, right? I touched it from smoking extremely high doses of DMT because I was a little bit naive, I guess. So I was naive enough to put a pile of DMT in my bong and smoke it a bunch of times because I was naive on what it actually was. So because I didn't know what it was, I was able to smoke it, where some would say abuse it. But even the times where I would abuse it, I learned so much from it, and I wouldn't have learned what I've learned if I didn't abuse it. Because shit, DMT, you'll be sitting there smoking it like 20 fucking times just to try to pull out a small bit of information about life or death or reality or dimensions or entities or whatever, right? So there are many ways to do this, but I'm understanding that just like Kalundi, there's so many other people who have, I guess, enough understanding of this, right? Enough understanding. And together, we all have it. We have it down. Like, we have this shit down so fucking well that our society would literally crack if we just all connected together, right? If Kalundi was still alive, right? If Terrence McKenna was still alive, if Ram Dass and Timothy Leary, if the greats were still alive, because you become a great after you've died in a sense, because Kalundi wasn't necessarily great when he was alive. Now he was great, right? All of us are great, but wasn't noticed by other people as great until he died. Now, listening to him yesterday, it made me realize I did the same thing other people do, right? Other people heard him talk about 20, 30 grams of mushrooms, and then people's ego gets in the way. Your little ego got in the way and was like, 20 grams of mushrooms, because you were scared shitless taking an eighth of mushrooms, right? The eighth of mushrooms scared you shitless. So, like, you can't imagine taking 20, 30 grams because your ego kicked in and now you're scared. And you're like, well, if I was scared, maybe he's lying. Or I remember somebody telling me, well, maybe he was lying. Maybe he didn't take 20 grams of mushrooms. But, like, that's because their ego got in the way and they're too scared to do that. Or they were too scared to take 2 grams of mushrooms. But what I'm realizing is this information is out there. It's out there. It's just so wildly crazy that it's not just gonna be told, listened to, and then understood, right? I'm not just gonna tell you this in a video, and even though I said this in English, and if you speak English, that's great, that doesn't mean you're gonna understand what the fuck I'm saying. And that don't mean you're gonna believe what I'm saying either, but because like this is what I have come across from my experiences with psychedelics, from me listening to other humans' experiences with psychedelics, and from me also researching things that might not have to do with psychedelics, but that does. Because everything is psychedelic. The whole entire existence of life is psychedelic. It is the psychedelic experience. I don't know, I think we just kind of forget because we get caught up in this world that we're in, but like, I don't know. Like I said, I guess I'm gonna end it on listening to Kalindi reminded me, listening to talk about the Bitcoin thing, and I was like, holy fuck, that is so real. Consciousness is like the electricity that flows through the computer, right? This is the computer. This whole entire reality. Right now we're on planet Earth, which is just one small little rock inside of this giant quantum computer god thing that we call the universe. But like, there's so many other rocks in the universe that probably have other bacteria that are thinking about these same things. Entities that may have like been so much more advanced than us, right? Because they had so many more years to advance. It's just some rocks have different bacteria that are on different points of the game. And this is just one giant thing, and this is it. And this is what is. And it's so crazy that we're so close to like it that I bet religions are getting scared shitless. I bet the fucking, no wonder, you want to know why China did their thing with the Bitcoin, right? Which made Bitcoin drop? Because they're scared shitless. You want to know why? Like, basically, why did Alex Jones get deleted from the internet, right? Why does because everyone's scared. The information is so out there that they're scared. That's why they're trying to censor the internet. That's why they're censoring the information. That's why they have the algorithm doing its fucking whatever the fuck, right? And some of the algorithm issues is because, it's new. Technology is evolving, and they're like, yeah, it'd be dope to have an algorithm. It would help out a lot. We wouldn't have to have as many humans doing the job. But then the algorithm doesn't do a full good job because it's new. But give it 10 years, give it 20 years, right? It'll get closer to the psychedelic thing, to it. And that's what we're actually doing. And yeah, right now, we have some fucked up people in charge that don't understand shit. So, like, it's funny that some of the people that are creating these things don't understand these things, but some people do. So you can look at it, from two perspectives. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. Steve Jobs built technology most likely because he understood possibly what it is. Like, he most likely took LSD, right? And I've taken LSD hundreds of times, and I can tell you that out of all the psychedelics, it has this digital-esque vibe to it. I don't know how to explain it, other than the semi-synthetic psychedelics tend to have a semi-synthetic technological feel to them. And it's funny because the psychedelic mushroom has a organic AI feel to it, and that's what Kalundi's talk was about yesterday. Was that I was watching was about how the mushroom is like an organic AI, and that's when it had me thinking that all humans are doing is the fractal thing, that we're trying to recreate what actually is, what's actually going on. The whole idea that thoughts create reality is just an idea from the higher realms. Bitcoin is just an idea from the higher realms. Technology is just an idea from the higher realms. The computer, motherboard that's inside the computer, the internet, all of these are just technologies that come from the higher realms. These are all ideas inside of the higher dimension. And we are not understanding, like, the Akasha records. What are the Akasha records? The Akasha records are what we are tapping into to pull these ideas out of. The ideas of computers and technology and spaceships and machines and all this shit, right? The future of the world, like these future giant ideas, are being literally taken from the higher dimension. We call it our imagination. We don't understand what the imagination is. It's like the imagination is like the internet for human beings. It's everything is technology. Like I said, it's all this giant fractal thing that humans are like. The brain is like a computer. The brain is like a hard drive. That's why we created the computer. It's like a brain, right? The same ideas. It's the same type thing. Just one coin, but every coin has a heads and every coin has a tails. And I think this is one thing. That's why I don't know. I'm not really. I don't play favoritism when it comes to natural molecules or synthetic molecules, or technology is good or technology is bad, or no, it's all just what is, right? And this is just life. It's a very, very complicated thing that's going on, but it's a process. So it's just like chemistry, where chemistry to the average person looks very complicated, but really chemistry is fairly simple, that it's just about knowing the processes. So if you know the steps, so you mix this in with this, then you add heat, then you evaporate, then you take that, and then you whatever. And now if you know step by step, then it's pretty simple, right? It's just maybe a tedious job, or maybe it's time consuming, but it's pretty simple. It's same thing with life. It looks complicated. There's a lot of different processes and a lot of shit going on. There's a lot of shit going on from right now in our society, in our time. It's 2021. It's May, about to be June, and right now there are so many discoveries happening, so many truths that are being revealed. Humans on a whole are now starting to if you ask the majority of people, a majority of people now believe in aliens. A majority of people, the religions are starting to go down, meaning like 300 years ago, there were way more people practicing Christianity and actually practicing these religions than there is today. Today in our society, there is a lot more people using psychedelics, which is amazing because I think in the future, I just think what's happening is we're getting closer and closer to what is, whether it's technology and it's all this fractal thing, right? So, like, I'm not ever trying to demonize religion. I'm never talking shit about it. Like, I really appreciate religion for stepping in when the psychedelics could not, right? When human beings were too primitive to understand. I am so thankful that religion stepped in, helped humans never lose faith in it, in God, or whatever you want to call it. But I think now it's time for the religions to step down, and I think it's time for the psychedelics to step up. Because right now in our society, the reason why there are more humans that know is because there are more humans daring to take high doses of psychedelics. I don't think it's. You can't just take light doses of psychedelics and think you're going to understand this shit, right? You can't just take light doses and think, yeah, I'm going to take an eighth of mushrooms, trip with my friends, and, together we'll understand the universe. And maybe. But, there's so much to be understood that you can trip, I could trip, we could all trip every single day for the rest of our lives, and we still would only understand the fingernail of God, right? That's all we'll ever understand. I have explained so much in just this one fucking video, but yet in this one video, I have explained nothing compared to the whole picture. All I explained to you was that, there was a picture. It's like Da Vinci telling you, yeah, I painted a girl. That ain't gonna matter if you don't know what the Mona Lisa looks like. Do you know her hair color? Do you know whatever? Like, that doesn't matter. So it's like I'm pulling out all this information. The same thing with Kalindi, right? He was pulling out all this information from the psychedelic mushroom, and there was a lot of information. That was his tool that he used, was the mushroom. My tool that I used was DMT mostly, but I've used multiple tools from smoking DMT to taking LSD. But even my other trips, in a sense, all my other psychedelic trips are just small little reflections of my DMT trips because, all psychedelics have this reminiscent thing of DMT, and it goes back to the fractal thing, that it seems like all psychedelics that are attaching to the 5-HT2A receptor, it seems like they all just are fractaling out the same type thing, which, I could say it's just DMT, right? That they're all just trying to explain the ultimate, the almighty truth of what's actually going on in this reality, and dimensions, and aliens, and death, and that there is no such thing, and just all this shit, right, that DMT has inside of it. The psychedelics like LSD or mushrooms or the 2C family or any of these things, right, they all have this. Some of them have a little less information than others, some of them are more fun than others, but they all have this little tiny speck of DMT in it, right? So it's all just this shadow that here's the physical, here's the non-physical, but then there's higher dimensions, and it's all just this fractal, and it's this giant circle game that just keeps on spinning. So what do we do about this? Who the fuck knows? We sit back, we enjoy life, we smoke weed, we take psychedelics, we have sex, we love our life, we live, and then we die. Like, that's that. And then we learn, right? We learn now, and now that we know a little more, I think we should do more with what we know. So, like, we need to do better with what we know. If we know psychedelics are giving us this these technologies, giving us the computers, giving us these ideas, then we should do better with these ideas. We should do better with the technology that we have. We should do better with all these fucking ideas. People are so concerned with getting rich, and, cryptocurrency does seem to be like this psychedelic currency that just came out of nowhere, right? But we need to do better with it. How many people are just becoming cryptocurrency millionaires but doing nothing still? The world's still fucked up, right? It doesn't matter if you give $1 million to a bunch of hippies, or it doesn't matter if you give $1 million to a bunch of rich, arrogant assholes, right? It seems like people still just keep the money to themselves. So, I guess what I'm saying is we need to do better with the information that we have. We need to start doing. I can say all I want. You can say all you want. You can talk all you want. But eventually we need to start doing. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to get into crypto. I'm going to get into this. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to do whatever, because I can see what's going on. And I can see what I have to do. And I have to do the things that I'm not doing. It's the things that I know I need to do. But, there's just sometimes fear gets in the way, right? If you're going to get ready to get into cryptocurrency, or get ready to take a risk to chase your dreams, or like the shit that I believe, a lot of people be like, yo, bro, that's fucking crazy. But this shit that I believe is what drives me. Like, you have no idea that I wouldn't have the life I have, like, if I didn't believe what I believe. I wouldn't have the things I have. I wouldn't be able to manifest the way I can manifest. The reason I can do these things is because I'm starting to understand how does manifestation work? Why does it work? Like, I don't know. Why technology? How technology? What's the point? What is it actually? Where did it come from? Right? We can say that it came from somebody's imagination, but then I think to myself, well, what is the imagination? What is it really? Is it like and then I just, and then my whole thoughts, and that's how I got to right here where I'm at. So, just thank you guys for watching this video. This has been a really dope video. But I just hope that at least somebody out there understood at least 50% of what I'm trying to say. Because there's so much information that I realized, even listening to Kalindi yesterday on his video, it reminded me that everyone in that fucking room didn't really hear what he was saying. I mean, we all know, like, everyone's like, yeah, 20 grams of mushrooms probably is, going to give me a lot of answers. But how many people have actually taken 20 grams of mushrooms? I have not, like, at all, right? But it definitely makes me think that I should, because there's something to learn. And something that I don't know, which I always love to walk towards the things that I don't know. Because I don't want to stay in the things I know, because then I start feeling stupid, right? I don't know, I work differently than most people, but like, if I just stayed in the comfortable thing, then it eventually will get irritating to me, it'll get boring, it'll get, like, what's the point? So, like, I don't know, the 20-30 grams of mushrooms is probably going to happen in my future sometime, but also, this crypto and my ideas and me just doing these ideas needs to happen. We need to fall into the fractal of life. So let's fall into creating, let's fall into being the fractaled version of God that we actually are. Where people don't want to get caught up on their ego and say, oh, I am God, right? No, but you are God, and we are all this God thing that is fractaled into this third dimension. You're not the same God thing that's, up there. Just like my shadow right here is still me. This shadow is still me. But that doesn't mean that it's the me that's right here. But it's still me. We're all one, and there's this giant fucking thing going on that you'll never know unless you try to figure it out. So, if you want to try to figure it out, go try to figure it out.